Welcome, Jedi, to another episode of Lunch Table Podcast. In this special episode, we're going to review Tales of the Jedi, just dropped on Disney+. We're going to review the whole season for you guys. Make sure if you stick around to the end, please leave a like, support our channel. It'll greatly help us out. Dylan, this was such an amazing mini-series. I hope there's a season 2. Without further ado, give us your thoughts.
God, I hope there's a season 2 of this. This was an amazing, anthology series straight from the man, the myth, legend, Dave Filoni himself. It really felt like I was watching like a Clone Wars sequel series, but yeah, it was awesome. Animation wise, the quality has really bumped up. I would say even surpasses Bad Batch, because that animation looks really good too. Very clean. The story, each episode, this is mainly focused on Dooku and Ahsoka, but I feel like each episode really adds so much to their characters and their lore, and even it's like some of the Star Wars lore as well. Yeah, I already know what I'm gonna rate this episode down the line, but yeah, I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, the great thing about animation in general and all these shows is that they fill in the gaps, and especially anything related to the Clone Wars. I love whenever they add a new iteration of that, because they always fill in the gaps so well. And I never expected to hear Yaddle's voice. I know that was something, and now I'm thinking does Yoda have speech problems or something? Because Yaddle, whoa. So I guess
Yoda's dyslexic or something.
Probably. I mean, but also gives some highlights to maybe how Grogu will speak down the line, just like
perhaps.
Normal. Yeah, I think a highlight for me also from,
Truly remarkable mind of Yoda.
Yeah, no, I think a highlight for me really is Count Dooku. I think it was a really compelling showcase of his overall arc and his mindset of where he's gonna end up. And I appreciate that a lot, really. And also some of Qui-Gon too was awesome. But yeah, so what?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Seeing, first of all, young Qui-Gon was awesome to see, because he kind of looks like a younger Obi-Wan too. But then when we see episode 1 Qui-Gon, because one of the episodes actually took place during episode 1, and Liam Neeson actually came back and voiced him, and it sounded awesome hearing him and Dooku having those conversations.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great to see Dooku he felt so much like Anakin in this series. He's starting to realize the corruption in the Republic, and we actually do see him go into the Jedi archives and erase Kamino, which was of course revealed in Clone Wars and episode 2 as well. But yeah, what did you think also of Ahsoka's story in this series?
Oh, it was touching as always. I think that she's an awesome character. Not only does she go through different lightsaber colors, right, and that usually dignitates whether you're a heavy force user or just a skilled fighter or something. I love her character so much. There's such a path that she takes, and it was so sweet to see her as a baby Ahsoka and just to see her tribe.
She was so cute.
Yeah.
As a baby.
Star Wars, man, they keep, even in Disney in general, they put so many characters that we're gonna think is cute. Probably have plushies of them later on. What did you think of that episode?
Well, all her episodes were great. The first episode was really cool to see the Togruta, her tribe and her race, and they feel this very I don't know, they kind of remind me of the Na'vi from Avatar. They're this very I don't know, a tribal race, but they have a akin with nature, and maybe that's why they're she's so strong with the Force, because she's part of this group that has a love and appreciation for nature too. So that first episode was great. I kind of wish we'd seen Plo Koon take her into, but this actually takes place when she's directly a child, and she even manages to tame this tiger, which I thought was really badass.
Yeah.
And then when we get to when she's a little bit older, we see her training with Anakin, and I thought that was a great episode, because we actually get to see how Anakin actually taught Ahsoka, and his methodologies, and how it's kind of unorthodox from what Obi-Wan or Yoda kind of their styles. And as we see she goes through this training where she actually trains with the clones, and she's trying to guess which one is going to shoot first, and then it takes her a couple tries. So we actually see her, she goes through multiple trials before she actually gets good at it. And it actually works out, because now when Order 66 actually happens, she's actually like literally prepared for that moment when the clones actually turn on the Jedi. But yeah, what did you think of that episode?
Well, yeah, I also think about it, and like, through life, you're constantly getting beat up, and you're not this perfect person that will always like just block shots or block anything bad happening to you. And I kind of took that like it's basically like a visual representation of her life. And I'm glad that they actually went through different periods of time where she keeps getting hit. No matter what, she keeps getting hit, right? But that's what makes her who she is. And I'm glad to see Ashley Eckstein back. I love later on, I think the final episode, her fake name is Ashley. I think that was a nice touch.
Or
Yeah.
Ashla, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ashley. Her name was Ashley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was I was like, oh shit, that's such a touching thing.
Cool homage. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think every time like I see like something revealed in the show, I'm like that Step Brothers meme, because I feel so depressed so many times to see it all that like, oh,
Well, shit, that whole I guess we should just talk about that Dooku and Yaddle fight, because that was like the biggest thing that happened in this series. Yeah, seeing Yaddle actually was like kind of cool, because like we never saw her in like the Clone Wars or in like an episode 2. Like we saw her in episode 1, and then she kind of like dipped. So I always wondered like why she never like showed up in some of like the media after.
Yeah.
So this episode actually explains it, and it's funny because Yaddle actually did agree with Count Dooku, and she actually like saw that the Jedi are kind of like helping these like corrupt senators. But she goes about it a different way. She doesn't turn to the dark side like Dooku does, and she even tries to turn him back towards the light. So what do you think of that whole fight between Yaddle and Dooku?
Well, it's very tragic, Dooku had a friend right there. He just didn't want to see it. Like he saw everything else except seeing that he had something in common with another Jedi, especially someone very old like Yaddle is, right? Because their race is very old. So for her to be like, yeah, the system is pretty bad, and she's that old, right? She you could kind of trust her, So it was very sad. I'm glad that we get to see Ian McDiarmid back. I think that was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome as Palpatine.
Yeah, and I just love this guy's like such an asshole. I love when like something bad happens, he's like just watches somebody. Yeah, but that was a very sad scene. I think a lot of people find it cool to see that Count Dooku's lightsaber is blue and a little bit like different than the red one that we know. I find it interesting too, because so in one of the books, not Dark Disciples, another book where it showcased Dooku's upbringing when he was really young, and he was like best friends with Sifo Dyas, and so it's tragic because everybody in his life kind of goes away, and sometimes it's his fault. And so to see that he's actually now pushing Yaddle back, I think this is the final thing to really turn him to the dark side. And I wonder if after that fight, did he like actually like escape off planet or something like that and just leave forever? Yeah, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I wonder what too, like what the council did, like how did they find out that Yaddle died, or did they just like go looking for or something? And I like that fight too, because it made me think, because this happened before episode 2, so it made me think, oh, maybe Count Dooku was like prepared for Yoda because he fought Yaddle, and because they have like kind of like the same fighting style almost. Yeah, that was really cool, man. And Dooku, he's in his prime in this series. Like you can see like him and Mace, when they were like fighting back to back, you see like their style. Like Mace is like very aggressive because he uses that form. I forget. I don't know if it's like form 6 or some shit. But Dooku is kind of like this like very like almost like this European like fencer dude. He's like very. You can kind of see like his style like transfer down to Obi-Wan a little bit, like the way Obi-Wan fights. Like he's very like defensive. And you can see a little bit of Anakin too, because when he like force chokes people, like he brings out that rage. So it's kind of like Dooku, I always say, is like the progenitor of like all the greatest Jedi, because like he sired Qui-Gon and then Obi-Wan and Anakin. So it's just funny. He's kind of like the progenitor. He has like you can see like elements of all the different Jedi that came after him.
That's a great point. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, like, how do you feel about it? Because this show, I think, It changes some canon. So Dooku actually, in the comics, there was a comic series, or a little, like a short story where Dooku actually is like on off world somewhere, and Qui-Gon actually tries to track him down. And this is the Qui-Gon with the long hair and the beard before what the events of Phantom Menace. And at that point, Dooku had like white hair and he had the red lightsaber. So and they were tracking down a Jedi that actually was like this tiger alien race. It was just a tiger with a lightsaber. It was really interesting. So I guess this show kind of retcons that. And then Ahsoka's final episode, there's some events that happen in that episode. It's kind of like a reiteration of the novel, where we kind of see how Ahsoka got to the white lightsaber, which, if you guys don't know, is you kind of have to exercise these the red out of the crystal, and then all of a sudden it turns
Yeah, they
white.
call it bleeding or something.
Yeah, well, bleeding when it's red, and then you have to kind of like flush that out. And not too many people can do that, but they changed that. So I want to get your thoughts on some of the canonical changes. Like, how do you feel about that?
I don't remember a lot of like the expanded universe, to be honest. I remember a little bit from the Ahsoka novel. The only like Dooku media I remember is like some of the Grievous comics, and then also there was Open Season where he was actually on this Mandalorian planet, and he was where he met Jango Fett's kind of like clan. So I don't remember too much about it, but I mean, Star Wars has been like changing a lot of their canon recently to, I guess, fit their new canon, I guess. So I mean, the changes weren't bad in my opinion. I think it really worked really well, and actually added more to their story than I would say the canon. But what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I know that Legends, like, I don't know about that comic book. I think that one is Legends. I know that there's a lot of stuff that's Legends. Around the sequel trilogy, that's when they started to change what is actually canon, and that's when they started to produce so many comics, so many novels. But it's kind of interesting to see that in this show, at least, they retcon some things. I don't mind it too much because I know a lot of people, they're not going to like go through like the plethora of comics and whatever. I don't mind it too much. I think it worked here for the most part. But yeah, so besides, because we talked a lot about Count Dooku, the final episode takes place like in the novels, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that because that felt like a really fast-paced episode, but it was probably the longest episode out of all of them.
That was the one where Ahsoka's on that farm, right?
Yeah, isn't it interesting that like Obi-Wan has to work in like some random place, and and all of a sudden she does too.
Yeah,
It's
right.
kind of sad, but yeah.
Well, it's funny. It started Dooku's first episode was they show up to this village, and then Ahsoka's last episode, she's kind of like working in this village too.
Yeah.
So it's like it starts out with like this high perception of the Jedi, and then like this kind of like low perception, or like vice versa too, like because people hated the Jedi, but now like seeing the Empire, people kind of like remember the good about the Jedi too. I like that episode. I thought it was interesting to see like what she was up to between Clone Wars and Rebels. So she was kind of like working as this kind of sharecropper or some like farm worker. And that Inquisitor, oh my god, I wish they would have kept that Inquisitor around a little bit longer because I loved his design. And he's voiced by Clancy Brown too, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wanted it to be like Barriss Offee. Like I kind of wanted her to like return as like the bad guy.
I know.
Because that would have been like such like the perfect opportunity
I
to use her.
know.
Because that Inquisitor died really fast too. It was like one and done. Like he had like a strong appearance, and that's why like sometimes I hate like when they kill off villains in Star Wars because they have just like cool designs. But I don't know. What do you think about the
Well,
Inquisitor?
it's like Obi-Wan, like when he went against Darth Maul in the Rebels. It reminds kind of like you
Kinda,
said,
yeah.
Count Dooku passes down like certain things. It's like, well, Obi-Wan, I guess he passed down something like that. She must have learned something for Obi-Wan. It was really interesting. I don't know. I feel like at that moment to go against this badass, like really scary Inquisitor and to take him out like this shows that, oh, she mastered timing. She is a master right now. That's how I kind of took it. As like, whoa,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You can't
she
mess
kind
with
of
her.
like she finally realized her true potential, right?
It's like Captain Marvel, and she goes like flies up
Right.
or something. Yeah, no, that was a cool. It was a little bit of whatever episode in the beginning. I think towards later on, nobody's really safe. That asshole guy. If I was Ahsoka, I would have took the lightsaber and killed him there.
Right.
Like I was like,
Well, I also like when the lady, she was like, we're safe, but not because of the Empire.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a nod to remembering how the Jedi were the ones that saved the Clone Wars.
Right.
And also like a nod that she knows that Ahsoka's a Jedi too.
Right. Yeah.
And we also saw Bail Organa in this episode,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I thought was cool.
Oh, she was in the when she was in the funeral from Padme.
Oh my god, yo, I felt to tear up. That was, and we saw Mon Mothma there too. I was like,
know.
oh fuck.
I know.
That's crazy. Yeah, even like Bail, when he was like talking like to the clone troopers, and he was like, if you need to call me anytime.
Yeah.
So I like that
Yeah.
she actually like called him, and she like called in a favor. So it's like funny because like Bail Organa, we saw him in Obi-Wan, and he's helping like all these Jedi, so he's kind of like this inside man, right?
Yeah, and the fact that Mon Mothma was there in the crowd too, it's like, you know, they're building something great, right? And there's a lot more people that think like them. It was really sweet. A lot of times in this was like very heartfelt. Tales of the Jedi is very heartfelt. I hope that they make a season 2 because I like to touch on even people like Mace Windu, you know, or other characters like Yoda. Oh shit, wouldn't that be cool if we got Yoda? They probably will put it in the High Republic though, because that's where Yoda really is now. I'd like to see like before the High Republic though too. I wonder if they ever dare to like go that far.
Right.
So yeah.
There's a lot of characters you could explore.
Yeah.
I've always wanted like a Grievous kind of like anthology series.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see, because we never really get much of him that isn't in comics.
Right.
Ventress too. I mean, we kind of got her backstory in Clone Wars, but I kind of want to see like her, like, you know, before like Dooku and stuff. So there's a plethora of characters you can explore in the Star Wars universe, and I think Tales of the Jedi actually does a great job of kind of like rebranding these characters, right?
Yeah.
So like, because I've always like said like I hated Dooku in the Clone Wars because I always felt like he was like this like kind of like, oh, like I'll get you next time,
One
like,
note,
mustache, mustache twirling villain. But here he's actually like a sympathetic character, and you actually like see like why he does the things that he does in Clone Wars, and why he's so cruel,
Right.
like in the Clone Wars too. His whole mentality and his whole character change, and even Ahsoka changed too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, this gets an automatic 10 out of 10. How would you rate it?
I would rate it 11 out of 10. I love this. I felt
Sure.
teary-eyed. I felt when I saw Master Sanube again. I felt
Oh no, not Master Sanube. Well, even Kanan, when I saw Kanan too, like in that Ahsoka training, so I was like,
he's so tiny.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we saw like Cal Kestis? I would have lost my shit. I would have like.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool. I think that would be a perfect way to tie in something. Yeah, I give this like honestly, it's a 10 out of 10. It's awesome. Me and you definitely agree. We love this. I hope that they come out with more because this was so short. I hope that because it's short, they'll come out with another season. But I got a feeling it's gonna be like the likes of Star Wars Visions. It kind of takes like, I don't know,
Probably,
2 years, 1 year or something. But it's something to look forward to. So do you have anything else to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we've said our piece. I love this series overall. I think it was short and sweet, and this definitely, you know, I think a lot of Star Wars fans will agree. You know, this was like a great addition to the franchise as well. And we have so many other, you know, Star Wars properties, and it's funny because we have the Ahsoka series coming in the near future. So it's great that they threw this out here. It's kind of like a teaser, I guess, of what's to come for Ahsoka as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great series.
Well said. Well, guys, you heard it from my master. If you guys made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you. And please make sure to like, as we always say. Another Star Wars thing, if you're new to the channel that we're reviewing, is Andor, week by week. We're going to do an Andor review later on today because we have a shitload of videos, which means we have a lot of content for you guys coming up. But without further ado, Dylan, please take us away.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this review. If you're not following the channel, please do so. And you can also follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor as well, and our Instagram channel as well. And we just got a community tab too. So if you guys are so inclined, please feel free to engage with our channel more. But thank you so much. And until then, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Take care, everybody.
Buzz droids.
This is where the fun begins.